Well, let's get more on the wall and the State of the Union and join the political analyst and commentator, Professor Peter Mathews, who's in California. Thank you very much indeed for your time here on Sky World News. So let's start with the State of the Union and the wall. Clearly, Donald Trump not backing down.
On the wall, no, absolutely not, because he feels that he needs to keep that promise in some way, that even if it's not a wall but a steel fence. He says that at least that'll be adequate enough to make his supporters feel like he accomplished something. So he's not backing down. He did, in fact, say he's not insisting on having the wall for 2,000 miles long and all concrete. He's backing down in that way, but not on the concept of the wall. And the idea of the wall is also symbolic, that he wants to keep these illegal aliens, as he calls them, out and make America great again, so to speak, which is quite remarkable. It's a very different vision of a nation of immigrants that's inclusive, that's accepting of diversity and of people who are contributing, working very hard, and they came here for no reason. They came here actually because they had lost jobs in Mexico or the wages were too low and NAFTA drove them out. So he doesn't want to even consider that. He says, keep those foreigners out. That's what his theme is, to make sure that his particular base of support of 35% remains with him the next election.
Now, it's clear that we've gone through the longest government shutdown in history, 35 days. He does risk another one, doesn't he, in a few weeks if this issue isn't resolved? Yes,
he does. In fact, he will risk another one because the Democrats are not budging on the wall. They're willing to give him, a couple of $1 billion for enhanced border security by providing maybe some drones as well as more border patrol agents, as well as humanitarian assistance. They're willing to work with him on securing the border more carefully, but they don't want to build a wall, not even parts of a wall. And he is insistent that that concept of wall has to be there. So there's a stalemate, a deadlock right now, and it's a problem. It's a major problem. The last resort he has is possibly to declare a state of national emergency and then to get the money from the military budget, which is he's threatened to do that before. He didn't bring that up in the speech, though.
Now, his main theme, I think we can perhaps conclude from the State of the Union, was set aside, in the message to the Democrats, set aside investigations and make deals. How's that gone down?
Not very well. The Democrats are furious when he told them, stop investigating and start legislating. Well, the thing is you can do both, and you need to do both because legislating is important, but so is the investigation of whether or not the president conducted any kind of untoward collusion or conspiracy with Russian interests. Is he getting money from the foreign sources? For example, the emoluments clause. There's some indication he might have violated the emoluments clause of the Constitution by taking money from people in his hotels. When the foreign leaders and government leaders come in and stay in his hotels, he's making profit from them. And the Constitution says the president shall not take any profit or an emolument from a foreign government source. So there's an investigation that has to occur. There's so much to be looked into, not just with possible Russian collusion, but also how is the president conducting himself as far as private versus public interest, and is there corruption there? And believe me, the Democrats are going to go full force forward, especially after you mentioned stop the investigating.
Let's talk about foreign matters, announcing in the speech that he is going to meet Kim Jong-un later this month, this time in Vietnam. Does that signify that there has been progress on denuclearisation, or that, in effect, things have stalled? Much hype was made, wasn't it, in June when they met in Singapore, but things perhaps gone quiet recently?
There was a lot of hype made in the first meeting, and the second meeting is supposed to be a continuation of trying to make sure that get things on track again, because what is going on here? There's a stalemate because the North Koreans are not secure that their regime won't be changed by the U.S. or by anyone else. They look at their nuclear weapons as a security blanket for them, and yet at the same time, the United States wants them to denuclearize so we can have a completely nuclear-free Korean peninsula. There's a problem here because what they want is some kind of assurance that the U.S. will not attempt regime change. They would like to see a peace treaty signed by the president, by the United States and North Korea and South Korea and the UN, and that would ameliorate their concern, and then they may start dismantling some of their nuclear weapons itself. But right now they're dispersing nuclear weapons, apparently, and missiles in different places where they cannot be hit or preemptively struck. So there's a real stalemate here that has to be broken as well by some kind of putting good faith forward. And I think Mr. Trump has to be realistic in these meetings. He can't just go in and have a good photo op like he did before. So it's very important to get something concrete on both sides and from both sides.
And interestingly, then, let me put to you this. There's a suggestion, or the president himself has predicted in the last few hours, that the Islamic State group, or ISIS, will have lost by next week, possibly, all the territory it has previously controlled in Iraq and Syria. Has he got grounds to suggest this? We'll remember a few weeks ago when he said that American troops were going to be withdrawn from Syria. He said then that this group was on the verge of being eliminated. So clearly something's changed here, would you suggest?
Possibly, but there was a bomb attack even after I believe after he said there was a bomb attack and people were killed. So we have to see what's really on the ground there and where is Daesh or ISIS as they're known. Where are they exactly? Have they gone and retreated across the border, or they're hiding out and waiting for the U.S. to leave and then come back and launch attacks? I think that he has to be very careful about withdrawing the troops precipitously or all at once. He needs to do it in a phased way and negotiate with the Syrian government and other forces that have to be assured that ISIS is not going to be coming back and raising its ugly head once again. It's a very dangerous organization, and it's never completely put out of practice. The reason they first came in the first place is because when President Bush invaded Iraq illegally and overthrew the government there, he had the military dismiss all of the Iraqi soldiers from the army and made them unemployed. And some of them actually joined the radical Islamic forces of Al-Qaeda and formed Daesh or formed ISIS. And that was a big mistake. So we can't keep repeating mistakes. It has to be very measured and careful and work with the countries in the region to get this done.
All right, Peter Mathews, we could go on for a lot longer as usual, but many thanks indeed once again for joining us here on Sky World News. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.